So the first example with the sum and difference formulas, you find a pretty straightforward question, cosine of 345 degrees, and you will find that there is more than one way to do the problems, but we should get to the same answer. So the more than one way means that there might be more than, or there is more than two angles that either add or subtract to 345. But the results of my answer should be the same at the very end as a friend who might have chosen to other different angle measures to either add or subtract to 345 degrees. So for me, it seems most obvious to do 300 degrees plus 45 degrees. So what I'm going to do is look for the sum formula from cosine. So if you look above there, the sum formula is cosine of u, cosine of v. And what you'll notice, like when you get to a point where you have to memorize, is that the cosine sum and difference formulas are opposite in sign from the original. So if it's the sum of 345, you'll find that it's the difference on the right hand side of cosine of u, cosine of v, sine of u, sine of v, as opposed to sine, which is the same sign. So when we go to now plug everything in, we're going to observe that 300 is where the u goes, and then the 45 is where the v goes. So we'll go ahead and do the substitution. We have cosine of 300, cosine of 45 degrees, minus sine of 300 times sine of 45. And so I drew the two coordinate planes here so that you can have an idea of where 300 is and where 45 is. So at this point, hopefully you've already memorized the unit circle, but 300 is in the fourth quadrant, 60 degrees away from 360 degrees. So we want to ask ourselves, since 60 is the reference angle, what is cosine of 60 in the fourth quadrant? And we get that that's positive 1/2. Cosine of 45 degrees in the first quadrant, root 2 over 2, minus sine of 300 degrees. Sine is in the fourth quadrant is negative. So negative root 3 over 2, and then sine of 45 degrees is root 2 over 2. And then we simplify from there. So 1 times rad 2 on the first fraction, set of fractions is radical 2 over 2 times 2, which is 4. And then a negative times a positive is positive. Root 3 times root 2, you multiply the two numbers inside the radicals to get radical 6 over 4. Sometimes you'll see textbooks rewrite that as root 2 plus root 6 over the common denominator of 4. So this is the exact answer to what cosine of 345 degrees. So if we didn't have the sum and difference formula, the only way to find that would be on a calculator, but calculators only give us approximate answers and not exact answers.